do it right now. So let's make a formal introduction for our listeners. Good afternoon, Jan. Good evening, actually, for you. My name is Claudio. I'm calling you from Washington, D.C. From the studio in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that young man accepted our invitation to our show. Jan, man, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Claudio. It's really nice to be part of it.
So let's start with the pandemic and the COVID and everything. So, you know, we live in very difficult times. You know, touring musicians cannot tour. You know, government entities tell us that you need to postpone the show and this and that. Some people believe in the vaccine, some people don't believe in the vaccine or whatever. A lot of people are dying all over the world. How's the COVID has affected your sanity, your life, you know, your inability to tour and everything in between, man?
Well, it's on a personal level, it's been it's almost embarrassing to say, but it's been really good. So far, I have been free of the you know, of the COVID-19. So that's been luckily, you know, in all my family. But I have friends that have suffered, you know, some musicians that has also suffered on different levels, both being infected and, you know, a couple of trumpet players that I've been playing with have had some serious problems, and one was going to the hospital, and so this is really devastating. And but on a personal level, it's been really a very creative time, because I didn't have to travel. And usually I would travel quite extensively, you know, especially in Europe, but sometimes also, you know, in different parts of the world. But it's been really nice, because I've been able to just concentrate on meeting my students, helping them, and also to compose and make new records in my studio.
Good. So I've been very productive for you. And were you born like in a musical family? When you started playing, you know, piano, taking guitar lessons? How old were you when the music started inside your head and listening to music at home, perhaps on a radio?
I was born in Denver, Colorado, in the States, and I grew up with Norwegian parents in Norway. So it wasn't my parents were Norwegian, and my father died in Denver. It was a car accident, and then we immediately moved, or after a year. I was just an infant, actually, and then we moved to Kristiansand in Norway. So I grew up here. And music, I inherited my father's record collection. Yeah. So that would be kind of the only memory of the father that I didn't know. So I would go through all his records, and by listening to all the great classical music, the Ravel, the Debussy, the Stravinsky, Grieg, Bach, Schumann, Schubert, you know, Brahms, and all these things. Then I would both get more close to my inheritance, you know, where I came from, but also it was my musical education, kind of. And later on in life, I would use that when I started working with samplers and stuff. Then I would use this record collection also to build collages that I could use in my productions. But of course, also I would in a very early age start, you know, playing instruments. I used to play the violin or piano and stuff, and then you know, one thing taking the other.
Yeah, I got you. Well, and then beside the music collection that you inherited from your dad, when you were, I don't know, 14, 15, what kind of music were you were back in Norway? What kind of music were you listening to? Was Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd or?
No, that was the I think that was the previous generation to me. I was born in '68.
Yeah.
So in that age, around 14, then I would listen to electro. Yeah. You know, coming out of Miami or New York, especially, I would listen to a lot of electro kind of stuff, like Hashim, Al Nafish, all the beginning of the electronic kind of hip hop kind of thing. But and of course the whole soul R&B kind of stuff, and the post disco stuff and all these kind of things. So we used to listen to a lot of music in my family, and we used to sit in the car. I remember we had a Renault 12, and me and my two siblings, we would sit in the back seat of the car, and we would sing harmony to Stevie Wonder and stuff like that, you know, because we could, and we loved that kind of, you know, the black music. That was really what we grew up with.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was maybe on a later point, maybe in when I was around, I must have been 15 or 16. Then I started listening to more European kind of music. You know, you mentioned before we started in the interview, you mentioned people like Brian Eno and David Sylvian, and you know, a lot of that stuff, Ryuichi Sakamoto, and that's kind of also part of my DNA, so to say.
Man, those are the best. Great people, man. I've been, as I say, very fortunate to have the means, right, to buy the music. And although I have not interviewed, it's music give me so much satisfaction, you know, to you know, go to a stereo downstairs and then put my headphone on it and drink like a beer and listen to David Sylvian or your stuff or Sakamoto. It's another world for me, you know. For me, in many ways, the pandemic was great because I opened all the radios and I began interviewing and meeting great musicians. And I slowed down my life a lot. I was going too fast in my life, very, very fast.
Yes,
and all of a sudden, well, now you need to work from home and you need to slow down. And there's an expression here, as you must know, you know, smell the roses. And I literally, I began to smell the roses, slow down and thinking, you know, if I going to die, well, yeah, that's okay. But you know, what should I do for the next 30 years or whatever? And I rediscovered music again, and I began seeing the important things in life, you know.
I think that a lot of people have experienced just that, you know, during the pandemic. And I think it also saved some lives. I mean, it took a great deal of lives, but it also saved some lives, especially in the world of the arts, where people have been working so hard. I'm not saying that this is the only, you know, field that people have been working really hard, but especially in the arts, for the last, you know, say last 15 years, with the changes also in the music business, if you could call it that. The also what you mentioned before the interview started with, you know, the fall of the whole vinyl or the CD or even the, you know, the studio, the records, and also the income. So people within the music field have seen just a very different situation over the last at least 15 years or so. You know, it's and on top of that, the pandemic comes and really hits you in the head.
Absolutely right.
So yeah, but I think also you would, on the other hand, I think it would be interesting to see now and to listen to stuff that comes out when people have been in their, you know, their beehives, you know, working with a lot of music, and it's going to be a boom with a lot of releases after this, I think.
Yeah, people in United States are, at least in the people that I hang out with and when I live, people are going crazy because they cannot listen to music, right? So September 1st, that all the venues are opening up. So I'm seeing like 10-15 shows in like it's between September 1st and October 15th. All great people are coming up because everybody's sleeping and the tickets go like that, you know. I'm seeing the Eagles twice, and Genesis is going to be touring United States in November and part of December. I'm seeing them 4 times, 3 different cities. I want to take some days off, and I'm going. You know, I'm going crazy.
Of course, on another level, Claudio, it's also, you know, the pandemic opens up also possibilities for changing, you know, for changes. it opens up possibilities for as Erik, my good friend and part of Punkt and Dark Star Safari, he was saying that, well, he was actually reading an article by an Indian poet, female poet, Roy Arundhati, saying that it's actually a possibility for us now to travel with less baggage, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right.
It's possible to throw away old ideas that doesn't work, and we could create a new world that we think is a better world. And especially with the younger generation, I think that this is, I really believe in the younger generation. And I see them all the time as my students, you know, at the university where I teach.
The other thing is, like you say, well, for all these musicians, right, all over the world that have been on their studios at home, you know, working at home without being able to tour, a lot of great music is going to come out in the next 2 or 3 months.
I believe
start coming out, you know. So,
you know what I heard about the pressing situation for pressing plants that produces vinyl.
Yeah.
You know how long waiting list it is? It's like 8 months. Now. Yes, oh, wow. Something like 8 months, you know, that you have to be in advance. And this means also that maybe a lot of, maybe some of the indie companies or indie record labels would not do vinyl because of the artists would like to, you know, they would like to have the record out as soon as possible, and they can't wait like a year for the vinyl. And on the other hand, how much plastic should we really put into the world?
Yeah, it's kind of, I have mixed feeling about that because
of course,
I keep on buying CDs and vinyl a lot, right? Because I like to open it up, see the picture, who played, where it was played, where the picture was taken. So I get a lot of information. Young people, right? Like people that are in the 20s or whatever, they buy an album and they go to Bandcamp. It's inexpensive, and they listen to 10-second or song, next. So they don't really enjoy the beauty. It's like reading a PDF, a book on the computer, or opening the book and turning pages. You know what I mean? Or highlighting, whatever you do. You know, it's another thing, or two different things. You know, for me,
I think we should just accept that there are different ways of listening. They might enjoy. If you listen like that, then you might enjoy music just as much. You just listen in a different way. So you listen more like in singles, like you would in the 50s or in the 60s. That was a 7-inch culture. So you would listen to 7 inches, and one by one you would listen to
all of them.
Not so much like full albums, because full albums came maybe, what should we say, around, you know, in the 60s, maybe late in the 60s it would be like full albums, but before that it was mainly 7 inches, wasn't it?
7-inch, it was or cassette.
So I think that it's just we have different ways of listening, and different music will be created, you know, for that in purpose.
What's your opinion? Gotcha. What's your opinion of, you know, Spotify versus Bandcamp, for example, right? So you have your music in both, right? So,
well, the primer is a disaster for musicians, except for, you know, the really, you know, Ariana Grande or something like that.
The big one,
while the latter is something that an independent or, you know, left field kind of artist musician would earn some money off, you know. So I think that Bandcamp is definitely something that is really good for musicians. It seems like it's there for the music. I don't think that Spotify is really there for the music.
The Spotify, well, for me, I use it. For me, it's great because I'm able to listen and discover a lot of new stuff.
Yeah,
so I mean, for me, it's a great tool, right? For market, marketing your music, but you don't get any money. That you need to have like a million hits to get a $50
so it
check.
would have. I think that also. I mean, I love streaming. I think that is really beautiful. But most of the time, I'm doing research. So I'm checking out new stuff, and then I might buy the album or something, or I just listen to that track by this artist. But so I listen to an enormous amount of music, but I don't buy that much music as I used to do. It's a different. But I have a great vinyl selection.
Man, I need to visit you one day.
Well, you should come and visit me here.
You might have a lot of stuff. Yeah, Ivan also invited me to the festival, the Punkt Festival. I will try to. It's very difficult for me to take time off in September, but I will have to go next time. And a lot of musicians in Germany have invited me to the houses because they like the interview or whatever. So in Germany, I need to go to Munich, then I need to go to Berlin and then Frankfurt and visit. I need more money and more time to do everything.
But it's really lovely here for the festival, and the Punkt Festival is based on the idea of something that we figured out. We were thinking that because I had been working with live sampling for a number of years, something that I discovered that it's actually possible to sample musicians on stage improvising together, as opposed to just sampling from vinyl and using it in the studio when I do productions. So I started that in '96 approximately, and so with Punkt, that was a bigger version of that. So instead of just sampling musicians on stage, we were thinking, why don't we just sample from concerts, and then we do like instant live remixes just after the concert is done. So sorry, and that's what we did. And the first time we did it, I think it was a John Hassel concert, and we did a remix with Sidsel Endresen and Erik Honoré and myself. And then immediately I just knew that this is, it's a new way of working. It's a new way of creating new music.
All the stuff in all the Punkt Festival, all the decoration are for sale. There are CDs somewhere somebody can listen to that or no?
No, there's hardly anything that has been
was
released.
Was it recorded or no? Really?
Everything has been recorded. So we will start next year by releasing the live remixes, and there's some really, really great stuff there. So it's like a huge collection of different things that I think that people would enjoy.
Yeah, you have everything at home in your studio, waiting to be released.
Right to my left here in the cupboard.
I got you. And then this year the festival is going to be only 2 days, right?
Well, it's 3 days.
3 days.
So we start on with a concert with the Jazzland. Jazzland is a Norwegian record label that's been here for 25 years. It was started by a good friend of mine, Bugge Wesseltoft. He's a keyboard player. You should check him out. A fantastic keyboard player. He's a really, really open-minded person, and he asked a lot of artists to release music on his label. So they will have a celebration concert celebrating the 25th anniversary of Jazzland Records, and then we continue on the Friday and also Saturday. So on Sunday, everybody would be traveling back home to wherever hole they came from.
And then Ivan mentioned that, and this year is going to be only Norwegian artists, right?
Yes, and of course this is due to the pandemic. We also did that last year, and we also discovered that focusing on Norwegian artists is not a bad idea, because as you mentioned also, that there's a lot of music and musicians coming out of
it's unbelievable
small country. The country is small that they could fit as a stamp
compared to the United States. As I say before, out of the 90 interviews, I think 10 or 15 are just Norwegian artists, and I have more people emailing me or send me music and stuff like that. And that's what I was saying. What about Finland? What about Norway? Right? You know, they're Sweden. They're right next to each other. And why? Maybe I'm biased because.
Well, I think it has to do with several things. I think it has to do with the Norwegian mentality. That if you go to the writers, you know, back 100 years or even more, then you would have people like Henrik Ibsen, that wrote Peer Gynt and all these beautiful things, and you would have Knut Hamsun. All these type of writers, they had a very special type of signature. They were very, very personal. And wrote some fantastic books, and of course you had also things like Strindberg in Sweden, and after a while, of course, you had in the film world, you had Ingmar Bergman, and that would capture the kind of the Swedish mentality. Yeah. But in Norway, you must also remember that Manfred Eicher, who started ECM, he did his first recordings in Norway. With Jan Gabarek and Terry Rypdal, Jon Christensen, and I think that this has been so important for Norwegian generations of musicians, that there's a freedom to create, and also it's a freedom to create your own kind of musical language. That is it's different from elsewhere in Europe, and it's also a non-Anglo-American kind of thing. You know, it's very different. I mean, it's not saying that it's against it, but it's just different. Is it?
Are you in touch with Manfred? I would love to interview him for his.
I've been working with. I've been lucky enough to have been working with Manfred on a few, maybe three productions or something like that. He's wonderful in the studio. You know, he's extremely focused.
My God.
Just extremely focused, like us as musicians. And you know, but Manfred was a bass player. You know, he started as a bass player in the Berlin Philharmonic.
Yeah, hopefully I will have the interview to the opportunity to interview him. Man, you have played, man. I was looking to the list of people that you have played with Morten, you know, Samuel, Ivan, David Sylvian, Nils Petter Molvær. Man, you have played with everybody in town, man.
Well, I think for one of the reasons is because I started with this live sampling, and people like to listen to themselves. Because I sample them.
You're very humble. You can play with the best musicians in the world. So I like the 3 albums that you have done with Ivan Arset. The one, I think one is called Connected. Yeah. The other one is Sonic Codex, and the Dream Logic. That's the one that I have.
Yes.
And man, those are very good stuff. How you guys met? How you met Ivan?
Well, I met Ivan in the 80s, probably first time, and because he was with Bendik Hofseth. Bendik Hofseth is a Norwegian saxophone player, and he used to work a lot with Mike Manieri of Steps Ahead and these kind of things in the States. Yeah. So through working then with we came together working with Bendik Hofseth and also Bugge Wesseltoft, and eventually also with Nils Petter Molvær and all these people. But you know, I think that Norway is such a small country, so you're destined to bump into each other. You know, even it doesn't really matter what type of music you're working with. So this, in this way, you could have like different meetings of musicians working different fields of music or the arts, and then together, you know, wanting to create something new. So I think a lot of things have been happening because of the Norwegian mentality, the tradition, but also that we are such a small country. So if you're interested in music, then you would go to Oslo and you would stay there for a number of years, and then you would travel back to your hometown. At least this is what I did.
That's what you did. But because in Norway there are so many artists, great artists, and so many music is produced, do the people in Norway appreciate their own people, or you're more popular outside Norway, outside Norway?
Yes, this is the question actually, because in my career, if you could call it a career, then I would have been traveling outside of Norway, and a lot of friends of mine, a lot of colleagues have been doing that, because we have been treating the European market very well.
Yeah.
So we have an audience in all these countries, but we rarely play in Norway.
That's very strange.
It is very strange. I mean, we do play in Norway, but maybe I play in Norway maybe twice a year or 3 times a year or something like that. And one of the concerts, one of the places is where I'm a promoter myself.
Wow.
At the Punkt
Why you think is the case? Then the Norway folks don't appreciate their own stuff.
No, I don't think it has to do with that. I think it has more to do with that we have been looking outside of Norway, and we've been traveling, and it's just I mean, you can't it is only 12 months in a year, so you can't play all the time, on each chair that is in front of you. You can't step on it, and start playing. So yeah. I think that has maybe something to do with it. It's probably more complex than that, but at least on the surface, this is what it is.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about John Hassel. I know there's a mentor of you, or it meant so much to you. I never had I have some of his CDs and vinyl, but I never had the opportunity to meet him or see him playing live. But tell our listener, what he meant, what John meant to you, and the importance in music, if you will, for you and for other great musicians all over the world.
Well, John was in many ways a kind of a father figure, maybe, for a long period of time, because he came to my festival, or to our festival in 2005. He played the first concert, and he came back in 2007. And then he saw a performance that I did with some of my colleagues, and then he immediately just asked me if I would take part and be part of his band, his touring band. So we would then travel a lot together. I would probably I would have been traveling with him for 5 years.
Yeah.
Until 2012 or something like that, and also recording the ECM album. Last Night the Moon Came Dropping Its Clothes in the Street, with Manfred as producer, and we would, with meeting Brian Eno, and because John was, I think Brian was, what was that? I think John was the godfather of Brian's 2 daughters. So they were very close, and it was really strange for me to be part of the whole thing, and also of course to be able to contribute with what I had, but listening to John goes really further back than that. I through the first time I heard John was with David Sylvian, the Brilliant Trees album.
Yeah.
And then I started listening, going through the whole catalog with Dream Theory and Malay and Possible Musics and Power Spot and all these stuff. But it's something about listening to John that even in a distance, like on a record, or like for myself being, listening on a headset in a live situation, playing in the Carnegie Hall, you would listen to the trumpet of John Hassel straight into your ear, and then choose what to do with it, and to make harmonies with it, and to improvise together and stuff. It was just a beautiful thing, So we had a very nice relationship up until 2012, and then we, like with a lot of John's friends, it comes to a point where where he could be very rough, you know, he could be rough, especially on people that were very close to him.
Really?
Yeah, he could, but he was a very direct person, and just a yeah, I really loved him madly. Actually, I think he was just a very fantastic musician. I mean, he was just, a lot of people are in debt to John Hassel, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Are you in touch with the family or family members?
Yes, I was at the funeral, the digital funeral that was yeah, after he died. So he was in June there, and also I met a lot of you know, people that I knew from before, colleagues and people that I hadn't known, you know, and I never met that played with John also. So that was actually very beautiful. I think these type of digital funerals can be really beautiful. So that's a good thing, actually.
In a way that you can see people that you haven't seen, or be introduced to people you have not met, although you're not physically there, but it's a way to.
Yes, in a very private surrounding, right? And where people are very fragile.
Mm.
I think that was very beautiful.
Mm. Yeah, I know you get emotional. I like his music too. You know, when somebody mentioned, I don't know, Pat Metheny or Sakamoto or David Sylvian, inside me there's kind of a lot of emotion, because I love some of their music so much. The same with yours. I mean, I as I said before, I didn't know that much about you guys, and somebody told me, no, you need to bring Ivan, and then from I think and got a hold of Samuel first, and then no, you check out this album, and then I came across you, and man, it's a lot of great music. So I'm very grateful, man. I'm very happy because.
Well, I'll make sure to send you. I will make sure to send you some of my stuff.
Yeah,
that maybe is available everywhere.
Yeah. So feel free to elaborate in one of my heroes, your participation with with David Sylvian. You know, you could work with him with the Uncommons Deities in 212, and then the remix of Mother and Child and Good Son versus the Only Daughter, and then Sleepwalker and so on and so forth. Man, those are great stuff, man. Let's go back to how you met David and how you stay in touch with him over the years. Because
well, Nils Petter Molvær, he got the call to do the a remix of Mother and Child, and that was originally from Secrets of the Beehive, an album that came out in '87. And when he got the call, I said to Nils Petter, Nils, if you're going to do this, I have to be part of it.
Otherwise, our friendship will.
Yeah, or I will kill you.
Yeah.
No, so we did that together with Erik. Erik and myself, we were sitting in my studio, and then just listening to the different elements, you know, the piano of Ryuichi Sakamoto, all the you know, the Cantangle bass player, you know, Danny Thompson, and all, you know, all these beautiful players. And then of course we would start working with it, and like everything else, it becomes something that, you know, it becomes clay. So you model it in a way that you find interesting yourself. But we stayed in touch with David, and then we did the Blemish remixes.
Yeah.
And after that, also he would do something also with Punkt, and he came to Punkt, and he did kind of artist in residence here. Yeah, so and he came also to work in my studio for about, you know, he was here like 3 months, and we worked together. So it's been fantastic, you know, as a musician like myself. coming from a very small place in the southern Norway, in the outskirts of Europe and in the outskirts of the world, and to be able to actually to work with people that have been kind of my mentors, you know, before I even met them, and then actually have having them as my teachers in a way. I mean, I think this is just a fantastic privilege to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So life is strange, isn't it? It's just really, really, really strange the way that things move. But I think it has to do with, like you mentioned also, that it has to do with your love of music. This is why you created your radio station.
Yeah.
I think that this is also from the performance place, that it has to do with love. Otherwise, you could work selling hot dogs.
No,
nothing wrong with that, though.
No, nothing wrong with that. No, but no, exactly what you said. I mean, for me, like we say many times before, music is so important to me, and I'm already buying all the music. I'm already buying a lot of vinyl. I'm seeing 30 shows a year, so I contribute to a musician when they tour, and in a way, my goal was to create a radio where it's going to be free. It's not going to be like a Spotify where you pay a premium and then play the best music in the world, you know, and whether you are here or in China or in Mexico City, whatever, people can listen to a lot of the music. And some of the music is, you know, it's not, in some countries there's well-known artists, and other countries it's not. So if you are in, you know, Shanghai or Mexico City, you can listen to good stuff that probably you never heard before, and you get good exposure, you know.
I think actually it's really important to do that kind of work, because what I realized as I work as a professor of electronic music at the university here in Kristiansand.
Yeah.
I see that with my students, especially with the young students that are doing their bachelor. I see that the knowledge or the lack of knowledge of how to place themselves within the world of music is just shocking, actually.
Yeah.
And I think this has much to do with the way that we listen today. That we listen very fragmented, and we listen to playlists. So a lot of music, especially like in the electronic music, they don't really know.
Of course.
They and even outside of that, into the mainstream, it's like I could ask a question to one of my students and say, so who has, or I would ask them as a group of 20 people, who has heard of Bruce Springsteen?
Yeah.
And one guy would have his hand up saying, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Imagine that when you know, back in the 80s, you know, where people like that were like, everybody knew that it was like Elvis, or like they probably haven't heard about Elvis, you know.
The Beatles, you know.
All the Beatles. So I think that if you have the love of music, whatever it is, I think it's important to share it.
Of course,
I think it's really important to share it. So in this way, I think it's important work that you do, Claudia.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I enjoyed. David Sylvian, I never seen him live, and I don't know if he will ever tour again or not. But I will. He's so well known here in the United States that, you know, people are willing to pay any kind of money. You know, like people Genesis, right? When Genesis, or let's say, let me so if Genesis were to get together with Peter Gabriel, or, you know, Pink Floyd were to get together, or Led Zeppelin, people pay any kind of money, and I mean any kind of money, whether the ticket is $100, $500, $1,000. People pay it. There's, you know, for great musicians like David Sylvian, you know, he can charge whatever he wants here, you know, and the ticket will sell out like that, you know. It's amazing, you know. Some people, although they have not played that, and then David Sylvian lives like a quiet life, and I need to respect that. And you know, he been reissue stuff and painting, and he released, I think, a photography book. You know, people want to see the guy, you know, playing live, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we were planning a world tour with well, that was Oh, that was some years ago, but then he had some back problems, so he was unable to do it. Otherwise, than that, I think really he would have loved traveling and, you know, going to the States and playing to the audiences there, because David has an audience in each country, and that are really passionate audience. They really, you know, they really love and respect him. And I think it's let's just hope that he would, you know, meet people again on a stage or in a recording studio.
I need to, if I meet the guy, I need to, in London, I need to convince him, you know, it's, somebody need to, yeah.
Very nice guy, by the way. He's a very nice gentleman.
But, yeah, I see his interview, and I know he's quiet, at least from the outside, right? Keep it to himself, and I don't know, maybe, hopefully, if I never have the opportunity to see him playing live, maybe I'll interview him, or, you know, for even half an hour, whatever, you know. I would love to. You know. I know his brother, Steve, and then Richard Barbieri that play with him, but, you know, he's, David is a unique person, you know. It's,
yes, he is.
Like you mentioned, John Hassel or Brian Eno, whatever, you know, they're people that are born every 100 years, you know, like Messi in soccer world, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they don't grow on trees like they say here. You know? I was listening to some of the track, and feel free to elaborate. I have 3 here. One is called Traces from the album Atmosphere 2016.
Yeah, that's,
you know, yeah. Feel free to elaborate how the album came together, or if you remember that.
Well, that one was special. That was with I had been working with Tigran Hamasyan. He's an Armenian piano player, and I think he's been based in LA for many years. Yeah. And releasing stuff on well, I think that this was his first, maybe the second actually, ECM release. And he's been releasing stuff on Nonsuch also. But Tigran got in touch with me because he was working on an album, and he wanted me to do some programming on it. So I did, and then we did a couple of concerts together. And this was broadcasted on, again, broadcasting is important. He was broadcasting on Deutschlandfunk in Germany, you know, Deutschland Radio, and Manfred was listening to that program. So then he called me and he said, Jan, I listened to this and I think it's just so beautiful, and let's go in the studio and just do it. So then we invited on board Arve Henriksen, the trumpet player, and Eivind Aarseth, the guitarist. We went into the studio. We worked the first day in where was it, in it was in where was it, in the radio studio in Switzerland. Yeah. And after the first day, I said to Manfred, Manfred, you know that we have the record now. And he said, yes. Yeah. And then we worked the day after also, and we did a new album. And he said, it's now official. It will be a double album. So it could have been 2 separate albums, but it was just like the music just came out like so natural, like the blood that flows through your body. Yeah. So wow. It was just a beautiful thing, and sometimes you're lucky. Sometimes you strike gold. And when you work in the studio or in a live situation, you feel that this is a really strong moment. This is where it's happening. Mm. Not all the times, but sometimes. Some people don't see the goal. Sometimes the goal is in front of you, and some people don't have the vision, right? Like to see it, down the road, right? Some people have like a very limited vision. Other business, like Henrik, right? He saw the vision of ECM, or want to create something, or Peter Baumann with private music label, or Klaus Schulze when he put that. Some people have like a vision, and maybe the goals sitting in front of us, but some people have the way to figure out that. I think it comes down to being in the moment.
Yeah.
So you are in the moment and you are really listening, or you're really seeing, or you're really smelling, you know, then you appreciate the moment, not the idea of the moment, you know, not the idea of a perfect world, but to be actually present at the moment. Now I sound like I'm talking to some of my students here. But
well,
I think
you can send them the link to the radio after that, you know.
But I think it's, I mean, I think that this is essential, you know, to be at the actual moment. And sometimes in music, you know, in the recording world, it's possible to capture some of this music, but most of the time it's just passes away. You know, music is ethereal. It just passes away. So sometimes we're able to grab it, and sometimes we're not. And it's through working with improvised music that I just came to realize that it doesn't really matter if it just passes by or if you grab it. It doesn't really matter. But if you capture it, then work on it until it becomes something that you really want to listen to, and that maybe somebody else would like to listen to as well.
Of course. The other album is a great album. It's Dream Logic. And, you know, I'm selecting a particular track here called Surrender. That's a beautiful album, man. That's, you know, like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that piece actually was started in 2005. It was done as a preparing thing for the John Hassel remix in 2005. So at the end of that remix, together with Sidsel Endresen and Erik and myself, we put in that track, because I had been working with Erik in the studio, and we've been working with the bass line and all different kind of sounds, but we didn't do anything about it. So years later, then we picked it up with Eivind. Eivind was saying, "Oh, I remember this piece. That was kind of lovely. Let's just work on that. We take away some of the stuff and we work in the studio." And it became this beautiful piece. It's like a memory from the past. It's like
a memory from the past, man. That sounds like a track from a David Sylvian album, you know?
Yeah.
Memory from the past, yeah.
But I think actually, a colleague of mine, I was playing up in the mountains just a couple of days ago. I came back yesterday, actually. I was playing at the near the Jotunheimen and Rondane. This is part of Norway in the eastern part, in the mountains. It's just mountains. This is where the saga of Peer Gynt, what Ibsen wrote many years ago. This is the actual place where that saga comes from. So we were playing there, and on the way down from the mountain, Audun Kleive, the drummer, he was saying that we all stand on somebody else. You know, we stand on shoulders of somebody else. That we come from somewhere else, and hopefully also people can stand on our shoulders, so that we could share the information that we have, and you know, the different techniques or the styles or the aesthetics or the way that we enjoy things, that we could pass on that information. I think that's really important also.
Absolutely. The other album that I really like was The High of the Reeds. It's a very good album. So I selected the Pink Cherry Trees here.
You know, it's interesting that you say that the Pink Cherry Trees, because Pink Cherry Trees is although done with Arve Henriksen and Eivind Aarseth, it's the same kind of track. It's almost the same way of working. You know, it's also a ghost from the past. That those two pieces have something in common. So you're the only one that I've heard that has actually been putting those two together.
Yeah, of course. I when I say I listen to stuff, I really listen. You know, you know, it's very good stuff. Man, you have done so much work. Let's talk a little bit about the Dark Stuff Safari with Erik, Samuel, and Ivan. my God, man, that blow me away. I mean, it's like I told you before, Samuel sent me a link, I said, feel free to send me stuff so I can prepare the interview. And he sent me a bunch of stuff, plus what he has in his Arjana Music record label, and then Bandcamp, Spotify. And of course, I didn't know what Dark Star Safari was. So I began listening to it. I put my headphones and said, what the heck, man? This is still the David Sylvian. It can be, it can, And I say to Samuel, how in the world? The guy doesn't know how to sing. Yeah, well, he used to sing, and then he began playing instrument, and then all of a sudden, we go back and forth. He sent me a stuff, we try it out, and my God, how in the world where were you, man? Why you were not doing more of that stuff, man? You're very talented, man.
Well, thank you. You're way too kind. I think that it's important to sing if you have something to say. And for many years, I didn't have anything to say, so I stopped singing. So I started off as a singer in '87, I think. That was when I started working with Eric. Yeah. So we were mates, for all those years together. And then I stopped for about 20 years, or maybe 25 or 30 years even. And I picked it up because there were some lines that came to me while listening to some of the improvised music that we had recorded in Berlin. And listening back to that, I could hear some lines, and then I just followed those lines, and it eventually became an album. But this was I was the one that was most surprised, because I thought that this was, I would never ever sing again, it would take like 10 wild horses to drag me to the microphone. But then I came to realize that it's just a part, it's just like a musical instrument, and it's, of course you should use it. There shouldn't be any kind of obstacle. Everything is material, everything is possible, everything should be, if some idea that comes that you want to play the mandolin or whatever, just pick it up and see what comes out of it. But the voice is so special because it's such a meaning carrier, So this can be problematic, and it could also be a revelation. But for me, it was such a problematic side of it also. That's why I stopped.
So a sort of personal question. Why you say that you didn't have, until that moment, I didn't have anything to say? It was, you always knew that you could sing, but you were kind of more introverted type of person, or you were waiting for the right thing to come along to, express yourself and sing?
Yeah, I guess it's I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think it has to do with some kind of honesty. Yeah, not saying that I sing honest music, not at all. It's not about that, but it's to find a connection with the material, and I didn't find connection with the material that I started working with in the beginning of the 90s. Because then house music came along and techno and stuff, and it just blew me away. I thought that was just, that I could connect with that because I connected with the old electro music. So I could see that this is a new way of working with form, with new shapes. It doesn't have to be a verse, bridge, choruses, that kind of structure. It could be a structure where it's just like more like a modal kind of thing, or that you would find in the jazz world, and then leaving the house thing, or the house and the techno and the electronics thing aside, because it was empty. I had nothing more to say. And then all these beautiful jazz people or improvisers came along, and then I just followed that and worked with improvised music, and now I embrace both worlds. I mean, I think that everything is up for grabs, actually.
Yeah.
Hold on a sec. Yeah. Okay, I'm back.
No problem. I stopped there recording, man. How we doing on time, man? I can talk to you for hours and hours and hours. We need to do like a part 2, part 3, part 4.
Yeah, I think actually that would be very nice. So but it's been very nice talking with you, Claudio, and I appreciate it, because I mean I understand what you're saying, and then you have the love of music.
Oh, unbelievable, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we need to do like a maybe when I'm in Iceland on Friday during the weekend, if we have nothing to do,
Yeah.
we do it like a part 2 or something like that. But you know, because you know, you have toured around the world. You know, you have played with the best musicians in the world, and you know, your musical influences, man. You've been in a way lucky, but you earn it. You know, are two different things. You know, some people like. If God exists, I don't know if God exists or not, but if it does, you know, it will be unfair to create two human beings with unequal opportunities, right? It will be very unfair, right? So maybe there are opportunities for everybody, and some people can able to grab it and gravitate and make something happen with that, and some people don't see it, don't have like a vision, you know, because then if in terms of religion, right, if God were to create two people that don't have the same opportunities, that would be a very unfair world, right? You know, so you are one of the person like you know, yourself, Sylvian, Sakamoto, Brian Eno, many musicians that John Hassel that saw the opportunity and they grab it, you know, and they did something meaningful with their life, whatever that means to you. Being an architect, being a musician, whatever, you know. It's so your students are very lucky to have you there, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It comes down to follow your heart, I think, in whatever you do, and then I mean I think personally also that it's better to look inwards, you know, than outwards, because it could confuse you just to look outwards. But I think if you really ask yourself, like John Hassel would used to say, he would say, what do I really like? You know, he would ask himself the question, because it can be confusing, you know. What do you really like? I mean, that's a really complex question.
Yeah,
it is a topic. It's a very complex topic, but the question is just right there in front of you, and just to follow that, and if you follow your curiosity, I think as a musician it's really important to follow that type of energy, as opposed to, you know, do the same, you know, for the rest of my life. You
absolutely,
know,
yeah.
I can't do that. I have to explore different things.
Yeah, man, you're doing very well, man. Was Young, very, very nice talking to you. I will send you, and for sure we'll stay in touch, because I want to grab some of your music that you have, and then get some names. And man, I need to go and visit Norway. I heard the food is very good there, so
yeah,
we need to make a time when maybe one meet.
Very expensive food. It's
very expensive food.
Norway is very expensive. Iceland is cheaper.
Iceland is very expensive, man. Really?
But no, Iceland is not expensive. But in Norway, it's very expensive.
Really?
Yeah.
Like at the grocery store, like going to restaurant, where?
Well, if you go to a restaurant, then if you buy a pint of beer, in Oslo, that would cost you like 120 kroner. That's like 12 euros.
Well, yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it could cost like that, but yeah. So it's Norway. It's expensive. Like a dinner, if you have a proper dinner with you and your wife, and you have like a starter, a main course, and a dessert, and maybe a bottle of wine.
Yeah,
that would cost, I don't know, 1,500, like 150 euros.
Yeah. Wow. Expensive, man. Yeah. All right. We need to save money.
Yeah. So
I will invite you.
You should come to Punkt, because then you would have wine for free.
Okay, I will try to. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate for your time, and I will stay in touch after this interview. Right?
Yeah.
Take it easy, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.